I'm Jeannie Walters, founder and CEO of Experience Investigators. Thanks for joining me today for a discussion about overlooked moments in the customer's journey. This video is sponsored by PayPal. Now, what we define as commerce is so much more than just a transaction. To get to the point in the journey where a customer is ready for payment takes specific steps along the way. We have to build trust each step of the journey, starting with creating a welcoming, secure place to shop and setting the right expectations. Today, we're talking about some of those overlooked moments with Greg Lisiewski, VP and GM of Global Pay Later Shopping and Rewards at PayPal. Greg and I have talked before, and I know this is going to be a great discussion. Let me tell you a little bit about Greg. Greg is the VP and GM of Shopping and Global Pay Later at PayPal. Greg has more than 8 years of experience at PayPal and has held a variety of titles at the company. After his first 5 years at PayPal, Greg founded BlissPay, a fintech company that enabled over 1,000 small and mid-size retailers to offer a buy now, pay later value proposition with no technology integration and allowed customers or cardholders to make BNPL purchases anywhere Visa is accepted. He founded the company in 2014 with the strong belief that everyday financing, also known as buy now, pay later, should be easy and accessible for both merchants and consumers. BlissPay was acquired by Alliance Data in 2019. Greg returned to PayPal and has been back at the company for more than 3 years. So, Greg, it's so great to see you again. Thanks for doing this with me.
Hi, Jeannie. It's great to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, I think as we're talking to the folks out there today, they might be thinking, what do you mean overlooked moments, right? Like we put so much effort into planning. We create this clear journey for our customers. They find us through our marketing, they use our digital processes to explore our products, and then they pay and receive their products. So, what's overlooked? So, I'm going to start there with you, Greg. What are some of the moments that you think are overlooked in the customer journey today?
Yeah, Jeannie, it's a really great question. And customers are people and they don't follow straight patterns. So there are overlooked areas really at every stage of the customer journey. Just think about product discovery. Like you can't dictate where that happens. It happens
Right.
everywhere. Advertising, social media, watching TV, interacting with a friend, observing someone from across the street. Really, can just happen at any place and any time. And the question or the challenge is how do you take sort of that discovery moment and turn it into consideration and not overlook that opportunity.
Hmm.
And then if you narrow in from sort of the art of anything to things that are in more of a retailer's control, as an example, when a customer's browsing, for a product, they could get concerned about price, as an example, if they're on your site and decide to leave the site. So that's where something like pay later or flexible payments can really help improve pull through of the customer journey by letting customers know about payment flexibility on the moment of that product page that can drive increased conversion.
Hmm.
Similar on the checkout page, PayPal has established its brand reputation and trust about being simple and really helping um, conversion. So we focus on those moments where it seems like customers are following a natural path and just helping keeping customers on the journey or ultimately completing a sale, which is what we're all in business to sort of have happen. I was just going to add, even if you think about, all right, well, I had the sale, I'm good, like we succeeded, but now you even have to think about after the journey, the post purchase part of it. Think about returns, right? Think 10 years ago, maybe longer now, 15 years ago, what Zappos did for online shoe returns. They just made it simple and free,
Hmm.
but free is not even good enough anymore. Happy Returns, which is part of the PayPal family, recently did a survey, and shoppers now rank in-person box-free returns as the number one preferred method for online purchases.
Wow.
And you know that's something where you probably don't naturally think I have to worry about this post-purchase experience, but that's another part of the journey from a customer's perspective.
Hmm.
Sometimes you receive goods and items, and it's not exactly what you wanted, and you want it to be easy um, to take care of that. And you remember when it was easy, and then you have a natural inclination to go back to the merchant
Hmm.
that made that part of the process or journey easy for you.
I love that you brought up a couple things there, and one is, moving from that moment of product discovery, wherever it happens, right? Like, hey, I saw those shoes on my neighbor when we were out walking the dog. Where can I find those shoes? So you go through that digital search process, and then you maybe discover something at a brand that maybe you're not as familiar with. And by seeing PayPal and by seeing the trusted way of, okay, I know this is something I appreciate, that actually will move somebody closer to that decision point to reassure them in that moment along the journey. The other thing that I think is so important is, we do talk about the sale sometimes as the end of the journey, right? Like, congratulations, you got a sale. But the point about returns is not just about, you know, um, we have to make it easy for the customer just to make it easy for the customer. It's because if they go into a store, there's a likelihood they're going to see other things, right? They're going to see things that they want to pick up while they're there. So it's good for the brands as well. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Foot traffic is valuable.
Hmm.
And, there are different ways to acquire foot traffic. Spending hard-earned dollars on marketing is certainly one way, but having a full loop process is another way to both satisfy someone on the purchase they made and, hopefully catch a
Hmm.
second purchase by providing that service. And we see that data that driving foot traffic does help with secondary purchases.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that as we look at the customer journey, one of the things that I believe is becoming more and more important to people is just knowing what's next, right? We don't want to go into something that we don't really understand where it's going to end, how things will happen. And you brought up how Zappos changed the game, but part of what they changed the game on was promising shipping will be there at a certain point. Like, you can expect those shoes on Tuesday, and that going in. And so I think that's another area where on that product page or during that conversion process, setting expectations about what will happen once you make this purchase is absolutely critical as well. So are you seeing that earlier in the journey as well, especially on the digital side? Are you seeing that earlier on the journey?
Yeah, we are. And then there's also, the other part of fulfillment, which used to be if I make a purchase online, do I know how predictably when am I going to get it?
Mhm.
Zappos did that, obviously 2 day shipping with Amazon. And, coming out of the pandemic, the buy online, pick up in store uh, sort of uh, feature that was born really of necessity,
Yeah.
is really now sort of expectation. It's not only can I get it tomorrow or the next day, like it's lunchtime. I made a quick order. Can I stop by on the way home and grab it?
Yeah.
Can I stop home on the way home from work while on a conference call, and someone will bring it out to my car
Right.
and just put it in the trunk or the back seat? I mean,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
really amazing what's happened over the last couple of years just in terms of customer convenience. And this is all part of the journey.
Yeah.
Customers are starting to pick who they're going to buy products from, not just
Mhm.
online, not just from sort of selection and price or fast, reliable delivery, but literally, can I have it in 20 minutes and
Right.
not leave my car because it's on the way home? It's just a fascinating time to sort of watch consumer shopping behavior and
It
and
is.
merchants meet the needs.
It is. And another thing that took off in these last few years is buy now, pay later. Like, this whole idea of really helping somebody make a purchase in the best way, in the way that they want, giving people these different options around payment. So, can you talk a little bit about that, and why do you think that's so appealing to customers today?
Yeah, it's another thing. We used the word financing earlier. The point of sale financing's been around forever, but it's tended to serve more durable goods. $500 washing machine or $1,000 piece of furniture. And what technology's been able to do, and uh, innovative companies is bring that down the price spectrum and really offer people just payment flexibility on all sorts of goods and services, not because they want to finance a pair of sneakers or jeans or a sweater, but just because they want to manage their cash flow. They want to know that they can get the good or service they want today, and be able to pay for that over 4 or 6 weeks,
Hmm.
without the heavy burden of more traditional credit products that have complicated disclosures and interest rates and a fixed payment date that's due every month. And I think those product pay later products like PayPal Pay in 4 were gaining traction. And then again, it hit with the pandemic, where sort of the feature was adopted by many, but it just introduced a whole new edge to it with
Mhm.
the rise of online shopping, the uncertainty that we all were living through at the beginning of the pandemic in terms of just job security in general. Like,
Sure.
how do I protect and save for my family's needs? And
Mhm.
here was a payment option that allowed people to manage cash flow, but without having to sort of manage yet another credit card product, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's what's so interesting about when we think about overlooked moments, because really a lot of this comes down to providing the right options at the right time for the customer when they want them on the journey. And sometimes that actually happens before we think it happens. And that's why it's so important to talk about payment earlier in the process, but not just, you know, payment. It's about these payment options and saying, however you want to do this, we have your preferred way. And I think that alone can reassure somebody and build trust as well throughout the process because they know that their preferred method is ahead of them. So,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Right, none of us are the same, but we all, at the end of the day, want to do things the way we prefer to do things, and by allowing or enabling choice and flexibility and partnering with brands that they recognize and trust are all part of making sure you hit that preference, which
mhm.
is different for all of us. And it's a really important part of the e-commerce business.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, I'm just curious, like, what are you seeing ahead of us? What are you seeing that you think is exciting in this world?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a focus on continuing to put the customer at the center, and thinking end to end, like we were just discussing, from product discovery that could happen on a soccer field on a Saturday morning in the rain,
Mhm.
through consideration, through purchase, through post purchase. And I think it's about how do we, as service providers or as retailers, make sure we're thinking about the customer in the center of that story
Mhm.
all along that journey. And we have things like, mobile phones and notifications and geolocation and more and more data with permissible use, of course, that allows us to customize and personalize the experiences. I think there's still lots of untapped opportunity to take advantage of all the sort of hardware and software that's floating
Mhm.
around these days.
Yeah, and I think it all comes back to what you were just saying, put the customer at the center of everything we do, and then continue to offer ways to personalize and customize the actual experience for them, and they'll opt into that. They'll say, "Yes, please," because it makes things more convenient. And I guess you know where I usually am on Saturdays on the soccer field when it's raining.
I've been there. I've been there as well.
So, Greg, thank you so much for being here. This was a fascinating conversation. I'm really excited about some of those things that you painted for what's next as well. So, I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome, Judy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And, thank you all for joining us here. These overlooked moments don't need to be overlooked. It's time to embrace them and provide those options and choice and reassurance for our customers. And, like Greg said, put the customers at the center of everything we do. I'm Jeannie Walters. I want to thank PayPal for sponsoring this video, and I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks for being here.